Hello, welcome to the Piping Show. My name's Ailis Sutherland and I'm here at the National Piping Centre in the library this time. We've got a great interview with the Army School of Piping's Gordon Rowan. We would love it if you could like and subscribe to the National Piping Centre's YouTube channel. It helps us expand our reach. And we're going to be hearing from Gordon Rowan a wee bit later on, but here's Helen Urquhart with the news.
On Saturday the 19th of November, the George Sheriff Memorial Amateur Competition returned in person in Hamilton, Ontario, after a break due to the COVID pandemic. The overall winner was Callum Bevan, who won all three events to gain the championship place. The National Piping Centre Junior Piping Competition is now open for entries. It will take place on Saturday the 18th of February 2023. Places are filling up fast, so if you head to our website to find out more and enter now. For members of the Competition League for Amateur Solo Pipers, the next Clasp in Conversation With event will take place on Sunday the 4th of December. For this session, the guest speaker is Glenn Brown and he will be discussing reed manipulation. Tickets are £5 and available to Clasp members. Head to www.theclasp.co.uk to register now as a member and get your ticket.
Hello there. With today's interview with Gordon Rowan from the Army School of Bagpipe Music, I thought it prudent to look back at another important figure from the history of piping in the military, that being Henry Forsyth, who served as the piper to the Sovereign from 1910 to 1941. Henry was born in Edinburgh in 1872, and in 1887 went on to join the Scots Guards, where he would become Pipe Major in 1895. Henry served in both the Boer War and the First World War, during which he was the Pipe Major of the 14th Battalion of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. Henry Forsyth was a contemporary of the famous Bobs of Balmoral, and very generously, Bob Brown's grandson has donated some photos of Henry Forsyth that we can see here. And perhaps most interestingly is in this picture, we can see in the center Henry Forsyth with Bob Brown and Bob Nicol on either side of him. Henry Forsyth sadly passed away at the age of 74 in 1946 at a nursing home in Essex. However, he's left his mark on the lineage of the Sovereign's piper, which began with Angus Mackay and is currently held by Pipe Major Paul Burns.
Well, Gordon Rowan, thanks for joining us on the Piping Show. How are you getting on?
Brilliant, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today through the National Piping Centre.
Great. Well, it's great to have you. And I just wanted to ask you a wee bit about your kind of piping background, a little bit of what you do in your kind of day-to-day related to piping, and just sort of a few things about what you've got coming up as well. So you're from Tiree. How did you get into piping initially?
Well, yeah, I'm from Tiree, and initially, as you know, on Tiree there's not much else to do apart from fishing and farming. And I was very fortunate to be brought up in Tiree by the late Alistair Sinclair, who initially taught me the pipes on Tiree. And he is a grandfather of Finlay Johnson, who worked here at the National Piping Centre for a time and has now taken over the mantle from his dad, Tommy Johnson, at Pipe Dreams with Ronnie McShannon. So I was fortunate enough to be taught by the late Alistair Sinclair Green Hill, and it was a great upbringing. Used to go there on a Friday till Sunday night, and you were submerged in piping then, because obviously the telly in them days was in black and white with the old dials, so the telly was switched off, or you would listen to Pipeline on a Sunday. So it was in the kind of DNA, being brought up in Tiree, and I was very, very fortunate that I started at a young age of 8-year-old, when I used to go up to Green Hill on the weekend, and joined the army way back in 1988 and never looked back since.
Yeah, and were there people when you were growing up that were from Tiree that were in the army, and how did you sort of get into the idea of joining the army as a career and seeing piping being a part of that?
The army used to come across to Tiree in a caravan. There was a chap called Rab Marshall at the time used to come across, and he was based over in Dumbarton at the careers office, and they used to come over once a year with the caravan and park it outside the school.
Okay.
He was a great ambassador for their girl and Southern Highlanders. He was cap badged their girls, and regardless if you stepped your toe in the caravan to join something else, I'm afraid the destiny was you're going to end up in their girls, even although if you maybe wanted to try something else. And he used to come to Tiree, and then when he was based in the Dumbarton office, he used it to all the pipers of the army round the games at the time. So you would meet them in Dumbarton, they'd all get in the minibus and they would head up to Mull for the games. They would do Oban, and they would do that kind of weak nucleus of all the games, Inverary, etc. And he would take all the army pipers round the games. And the minute I stepped into the caravan at the school in Tiree and he found out it was a piper, then the rest was history.
Yeah. And I believe you've got a son who plays as well, is that right? Did you teach him?
No, my young son Kyle, he plays the pipes. He was taught by a chap that used to be at the piping school. It was in the Highlanders. He started him off. Paul started Kyle off at a young age, and then he went after that to a chap called Neil Hall, who was a 2IC at the time at the school, and then I got a bit more tuition through Ben Duncan.
Right.
And then Kyle at the same time was learning to play the accordion.
Yeah, I'd seen that he'd been doing really well with the box. And do you think the kind of piping and accordion thing, having Tiree roots, that's a pretty big thing, isn't it? To have that kind of, not just the competition style playing of playing on the pipes, but I'm sure the box playing feeds into the piping. Would you say?
It definitely does. That kind of West Coast lilt and all the tunes that you hear is certainly prominent in his playing today. And a great ambassadors for that was the bands like Trail West and Skipness at the time. Kyle was a young boy, really awed by guys like Angus MacPhail and Ian from Trail West. They were really his people to look up to. Mm-hmm. And he used to play the tunes in the box at a very, very young age, and being based in Edinburgh and having that in his DNA was something else. And Angus actually came to the house one night as a surprise for his birthday and ended up playing a few of the Skipness tunes with Kyle. And Kyle was only probably about 10 at that stage and could play very well on the accordion and is equal on the pipes. And I think it's important having that, and even when going to Tiree, when we went to the Tiree Music Festival for the first time, Kyle was kind of always looked up to these boys, and then listened to the music as well. I mentioned at the start there about it was always Pipeline was on the radio on a Saturday night. Well, he would go back to Edinburgh and listen to that. He wasn't interested in pop music or anything at the time, and it just developed from there. And played a few times with Skipness on the stage and Trail West, and even over in Islay, where my wife's from. Played on the stage with Robert Robertson as well. So these bands were very inspirational to people, and everybody on the islands looks at these bands, and it makes it attractive to be a piper or drummer.
Of course, and I think the more and more that piping is seen in lots of different settings, whether it is at a ceilidh in Islay or a festival in Tiree, or as part of the tattoo or as part of kind of big state events, I think it becomes more of a normal, cool thing for people to do. And would you be able to talk a wee bit about kind of the piping that you do nowadays in your work? And because I believe quite a lot of it is quite high profile. Yeah,
currently now I'm the Director of Army Bagpipe Music, based through in Edinburgh, and we run the courses for the Army, and that's taking somebody from that's never played before, to what we call Zero to Hero, and it's basically they learn a small selection of tunes on the pipes and drums, all the way to finishing off after 22 weeks, and they do a small pass-out parade where we bring friends and family to watch that and their military colleagues. And then they can enhance on from there to the Class 2, Class 1, and then the Pipe Majors course, which is the pinnacle of your piping through the school, and it's obviously the equivalent to the SQA Level 8, which you deliver here at the National Piping Centre. And the courses run parallel, exactly the same for drumming, all the way up to Class 1 and the Drum Majors course. And then the students leave with the necessary qualifications, go back to their units, and we at the school draw the best instructors from the Field Army to come back to the school as instructors, and then they train the future pipers and drummers of the Army all the way up again to Pipe Majors and Drum Majors. And they go on to bigger and better things. They travel around the world playing. We've recently had some of my instructors come back from an STTT in Egypt, and another two just recently have returned from Cyprus. So the opportunity to travel thereafter is great, and see different parts of the world and deliver what they've learned at the piping school. And we've this year had a very, very busy year with, at the start of the year we started the Jubilee celebrations for Her Majesty. That started off with the Windsor Horse Show down in Windsor, which was a great experience, playing for the 5 shows on Her Majesty's doorstep, and she came to watch the show on the last night, and it was broadcast out live on television, which was great. But as well, though, it was a kind of what we'd done on the arena was combined with the orchestra, which was quite something else, and collaborative working with as well Aileen Robertson and the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo Highland Dancers. So it was all that kind of ceilidh music that we spoke about there. It was kind of a dance stroke piping stroke ceilidh music, and it was well received. And the young pipers and drummers nowadays like playing the kind of more modern kind of ceilidh reels and jigs on the pipes, and we then went on from the horse show. We were on to the Jubilee celebrations down in London for the pageant. Started off at Wellington Barracks, all the way round past Houses of Parliament, round and then down the Royal Mile, and thousands and thousands lining the route, and then coming round past the Royal box on the right hand side, round past Buckingham Palace and back into Wellington Barracks. I think it was about 2.8 kilometres. I certainly felt my age by the end of that. Yeah. And that was kind of traditional tunes, Greenhill's Battles Over and all the old favourites, and ones that people would recognise round the globe. And we finished the pageant, and then we came north to home territory where we had a pass-out. Sorry, we were on from there down in London to the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo. Mm-hmm. And again, that was bands from around the world that came in to support different acts. The main Pipes and Drums act. We then had a set 2, which had kind of a Tyree theme, tunes that we had composed for that, and kind of then complement with the stage band. And again, Aileen Robertson's dancers came on for that as well, which was great. It was kind of ceilidh music.
So would you say that you have quite a lot of influence on the actual music that is played at big occasions like this? Do you yourself get to select some of the repertoire? We
do, but each of the organisations I've mentioned there, they obviously want to hear what you've produced, and then they give it the final rubber stamp. It's not a case of my team at the school produce that and then off we go. Mm-hmm. It goes through that kind of whole process of through the winter. You decide what you're looking at for the following year. You put the dots down. You put the kind of ceilidh backing to it, and then you send off the kind of demo track to them with the music. They then give it the rubber stamp. And it's handy having Kyle, who you mentioned previously, and my wife Mary plays the keyboard in the house as well, so we've got that ready kind of in-house band that can put the tracks down, and then put them out.
I suppose that's what's really nice about the kind of piping scene today, is that on all levels, whether it's like literally a military operation, or it's somebody doing a course to go into sort of like performing music across the world, it is a collaborative thing. It's showing that piping is no longer kind of blinkered to just doing the same things and that they've always done, or pipers doing the same things that they've always done, and the same tunes. It's like everyone's thinking more laterally as well, and I think that's a really positive thing, that there'll be people listening to Trail West and Skippenish, and then they'll go along to the military tattoo and hear some of those same things, and that the world is a lot more connected up in terms of piping, I think, maybe.
Definitely, and I totally concur with what you're saying there, that it has, and the tattoo did that again this year after not being on for 2 years, and it was great to have the pipers and drummers back on the Esplanade, and it was beamed round the world on BBC, which makes it very, very attractive to the younger generation coming through. And sadly then we went on from there to Her Majesty's Funeral again, so we were moving from the kind of ceilidh music to the more sombre tunes we played down in London. And for us, it was something special to be part of, and I think it made piping and drumming again very, very attractive, not just within the military, but round the globe, and going from ceilidh music on the Esplanade to down in London playing sombre tunes to give a fitting send-off to Her Majesty was a great, great achievement by all the military pipers and drummers on parade. And I think for us, for the school, it was quite a poignant moment as well, because students that had just passed out in the September course, on the basic course, were then actually part of Her Majesty's Funeral. And you trained them for that, but I think a lot of them never thought it would happen so quickly. And the young ones that had just finished at the school were then down in London, playing for Her Majesty's Funeral and giving her that fitting send-off. As we look forward to this year, later on in the year, we've got some of our instructors coming to be part of the HNC course here at the National Piping Centre, and then that's showing collaborative working between the Army and the Piping Centre, and they will then go on to hopefully bigger things and complete the HND course. And then we're obviously going on to the Armistice Day Parade in November down at the Cenotaph, and then we look forward to the next state visit towards the end of November. And concurrently as well, we're working towards the future Pipers and Drummers with our Midlothian Schools project, which is happening in Edinburgh, where we go out on a Friday afternoon and we deliver piping and drumming to the Midlothian Schools catchment area, and they come to us and we deliver piping and drumming to them. And we're looking towards the future of potentially working alongside yourselves at the National Piping Centre again towards the great initiative yous have got through here in the west of the Castle Milk to Castle Bay. And obviously I know it's in the early infancy stages, but working together we look forward to as we move into that in 2023.
Absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time and for kind of running us through your own piping journey. I think it's really important, as you're highlighting there with the practices of, as soon as you've got the skills and the tools, you try and pass it on to the next crop of people coming through. And I think it's really important that, we're all working together and to try and make piping more accessible and more attractive for as many people as possible. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.